Hello everyone and welcome back to another tutorial. In this video we're going to be learning how you can set up the advanced combat system. So you're going to be able to punch the bot like this. You're also going to be able to kill the bot, simulating the physics. We're going to learn as well how to set up the health bar for the bot, so it's going to be above the bot. And we're also going to learn how to set up the decal so that it spawns below the character. You can also choose to dodge to the left or to the right. And you also have the option to block the attacks from the bot. So other than that, let's go for this tutorial. First thing we're going to do is go to the edit, project settings. And then here we're going to scroll down until you find the section of collision. And here, as you can see, I have added a collision type for the object channel as NPC and for the player. So we're going to do the same. Click on here on the new object channel button, and then we're going to choose the name for it. The reason why we do this is because we're going to want to have precise control over where exactly the player is hitting the bot's mesh. After you've added the object channel collision here, you are going to go to the third person character. We're going to want to have the input action. So go to the third person map. If you're using the starter template, go to the, where is it? Type EMC, then right click on it, show in folder view, go to actions. As you can see, I have already added a new input action here called aim and attack. So you're going to do the same. So you can just like copy and paste one of these input actions that already exist. And then you're just going to type like aim. I'm going to type aim second. And then for the aim settings, what we're going to want to do, delete all of this. And on the trigger, you're going to add a new element. And here I have the hold and release, because when you're aiming, you're holding the right mouse button. And you want two types of triggers to happen. One is for holding, and the other one is for releasing, right? So you want two types of events. So that's why I chose the hold and release trigger, that it works the best. For the hold time threshold, I set it to be 0, false 0. That's all you got to do in here. And now for the attack input action, you're going to want to choose the trigger called pressed. And actuation threshold is going to be 0.5, but it doesn't really matter. You can choose anything. Now what you're going to want to do is create and get the AI aim. So as you can see, as you can see here, as I've created a new input action, it shows for me here, the second one, I mean. So you can have that. If you type aim, it's going to appear for you. As you can see, it's below enhance the action events. So if you click on that, it's going to show up this for you, this input action. And that's basically for when you right click with the mouse. This ongoing execution is going to serve as a event tick. So be careful with messing around with this. So as you can see, right click, it's working for me, because you also have to do another setup, which is going to be on the IMC default. So here, you're going to go to add a new action mapping. And as soon as you add a new action mapping, you're going to choose the action mapping, the input action that you have created. So in my case, it's AI aim. And when you click on here, as you can see, you can choose which key is going to be mapped to that input action, right? So here I've chose the right mouse button. So in order for you to aim with the character, You can like press right mouse button or the gamepad right shoulder, which means R1 on the gamepad controller. For the attack, we're going to use the left mouse button. So we're going to aim with the right mouse button and attack with the left. Right, so you're just going to put them here. And that's all you gotta do in here. One thing I like to do in here is that when we are strafing, for example, we're not gonna wanna make the character to jump, or we're not gonna wanna make the player to be able to jump. So I'm gonna add the branch, and I'm going to let you guys have to create a variable called isStrafing. So you can right click on the condition and promote to variable and call that variable isStrafing. So I already have mine here. So we're going to get, don't worry about anything else here, all these variables, because we're going to talk about them later. And don't worry about these functions because they just come with the comments. I think it's going to be easier for you guys to follow. We're just going to connect the isStrafing there so that when the character is strafing, the character cannot jump. Another thing I like to do in here is I'm going to get a branch that's going to be connected here. And I'm going to create another variable called block player movement input. I already have that variable in here, which is this one right here. Notice that the default value has to be off, has to be false, both for both booleans. So you're going to create a new boolean variable called block player movement input, and then connect it to the condition. And if it's false, if we shouldn't block the player movement, if the player movement is not blocked, then we can follow this execution flow here, which basically means that we're basically allowing the character to have input of velocity and speed, strength for the ground speed, something like that. And also here, if the character is not strafing, then we can jump. We can move the input pin here, the execution pin. Now here in the begin play, we need to get the variable of the bot, but first we need to create the bot blueprint. I already have the bot blueprint here, but I'm going to teach you how you can create it from scratch. It's basically simple. All you need to do is go to the BP TPC or whatever main character that you use for the normal locomotion, right? And you're going to right click on it. And then you're going to create child blueprint class. And then you're going to name this TPC, I don't know, bot, I don't know, robot, or test bot, something like that, just to get a reference. So here you have the bot, and you can just drag and drop it into the world. I'm not going to do that right now. So when you come here on the event graph, as you can see, we have all these nodes are hidden, kind of like disabled. So what we're going to want to do is go to the bot. And I have some comments here. And as you can see, the parent class is BP TPC. That means that the bot is kind of like getting some of the properties that the TPC has. That means that we can also use some of the functions that we have inside of here, some variables that we have inside of here of the TPC inside the bot function. So let's say, for example, I want to get the strafing. I can, and that's kind of like how it works. But so after we create the bot, in my case, it's BP bot, I'm gonna go into the begin play inside my TPC character and get the actor of a class. And then I'm going to type the name of the blueprint, which is called BP bot. And then we're going to promote it to a variable. I don't know why it's not working. Let's see. And then we're going to promote it to a variable. So we're going to right click on the return value, promote it to a variable. And as you can see, for some reason, we get like 2 input nodes. I don't know why that's it. Why that's created like that, but you can then just delete it and then get it from here. So just drag and drop it and then set, and then you're going to get the only one input value, right? And then you're just going to connect it into here, and then that's it. And that's just like basically promoting the variable so that we can use it later. that's the reference of the blueprint of the bot, so that we can like destroy the actor or do anything, like get the mesh, for example. You can do anything. Now, one thing is just to rename it to be like BP bot, something like that, so that we know it. Now, an optional thing, if you want to show like the collision visualization on the world, you can do a simple node called execute console command, and then you can type the name show flag collision and 1. So that's going to show up the collision. That's great for visualizing like which objects on the scene has collision. So that's pretty useful. For now, I'm going to let it to be disabled. I don't want that for now. So when you play again, it disappears. Now in here, for the block movement mode, we're going to create a new Boolean value. So here for the block movement mode, we're going to create a new variable called block mode. So we're just going to click here on the plus button and create a variable called block mode. I already have mine in here. Mine in here, it's called block mode. So just drag it in. And then you're going to set the block mode to be true. And this one here is going to be false, so that the animation blueprint can know when the character is going to block. We're going to show that later on how that's going to work, but at the moment, just let it like that. Now for the dodge, we're going to create a new macro. So you're just going to click on the plus sign here, and then you're going to name your macro. You can name it to be dodge macro. It could be like directional dodge. I already have mine already created. And as you can see, we have one input and one output. And these are for the execution inputs. So whenever you drag and drop the macro in the graph, as you can see, there's no like execution in here, right? But if you drop the one that has one, then the node is going to be like this. There's going to be execution input. So to do that, you just gotta click on the inputs and click on the plus sign and choose here execution pin as an input. So that when you come back, as you can see, it shows up for you, the new parameter, and now you can connect it to here. I already have mine here, so it's called dodge macro. This macro, there's nothing much special other than comments, so that it's easier for you to follow the tutorial. The first thing we're going to do here is get a branch, and then here we're going to check if the is input key down. But firstly, we gotta get the get player controller, and then we're going to get the is input key down node. And then what you're going to do is click on here and right click into your mouse. So that's going to select the key you want for you. So it says right here, right mouse button. So here in the return value, we're going to plug that into the condition. So that's basically going to check if you're holding the right mouse button or not. If it's true, then we're going to play a montage. And here we're going to just drag and drop the mesh because we're going to want to play a montage, a directional dodge montage for the bot. So we need the mesh reference of the bot, to which is going to be played, the animation is going to be played. And for the montage to play, we're going to do something different here. So whenever the player is pressing the right mouse button and it's also pressing the A button on the keyboard, he is going to execute a dodge left montage. So the character is going to dodge to the left. Now, if the player is pressing any other key other than A, then he's going to dodge to the right. That's basically how it's my setup is done. It's very simple. So what you're gonna do is copy that, and then click here, and then press A so that you can get the A input right there. So here we're going to drag off the montage to play and type select. This is going to allow us to select which montage you want to play based on a input. We're going to select Boolean for this one. Okay, so for the false, we are going to select the dodge right montage. We're going to select the dodge right montage. So I already have mine here. It's called dodge right montage. And it basically looks like this. I don't know why it's black. Like the character is black. But that's the way it is. So make sure that that it's using root motion. So make sure that the enable root motion option is on so that the character can move following the root bone. Now we're going to do the same here, but for the dodge left montage. So that's basically it. As you can see, when you press the left shift, it's going to execute a macro. And then this macro is going to check if the character is pressing and holding the right mouse button, which means that if the character is basically aiming. And after that, it's going to, if it's true, if the character is aiming, then we're going to execute a montage based on the player's input. So that is, if the player is pressing A, then we're going to execute a certain montage. If it's not, then we're going to execute another montage. So as you can see, it works right now. It looks bad because right now my character doesn't have a pose that matches the punch combat system, but we're going to solve that later. Now for aiming, we're going to create two functions. So the first function is going to be for aim start function, and the second one is going to be aim end function. I already have those functions created here. I'm just showing you how you can create your own functions. But if you go to the aim start function that I've created, there's nothing special, just comments to help me guide you guys on the tutorial. So here for the first check, we're going to check for if the character is aiming or not. So we're going to get the, if you haven't created the variable called can aim, I think I haven't. So I'm going to create one called can aim question mark, and then we're going to just drag and drop that variable there. Compile. The default value of that variable is going to be true. Now for false, you're going to drag and drop the aim end function and then connect it to here. So the first thing we're going to do here is create another variable called is strafing, if you haven't. And this is going to be a Boolean variable. So we're going to drag and drop it and set it to be true. So all we're doing here is basically when you press the right mouse button, we want the character to be aiming to the bot. So the next thing, we're going to drag and drop the character movement and set the orient rotation to movement. And then the next thing we're going to do is set the use controller desired rotation so that the character can rotate facing the bot. Now the next thing we're going to do is limit the max walk speed. So we're trying to get a speed that's not too fast or not too slow for the character in order to have a better combat system. Now the next thing we're going to do is make the character to face the bot. So we're going to set the actor rotation. Now to find out the rotation that we need in order to face the bot, I'm going to get the actor rotation, because as soon as you right click and hold the right mouse button, as soon as you hold the right mouse button, the rotation of your character is going to be relative, is going to be the exact rotation that it's needed to face the bot. So if your character is facing this way and the bot is like right here, the character, we're going to need a rotation. We're going to make a system that it's going to calculate which rotation relative to the other character, to the enemy, is necessary in order for the character to turn into the direction of the enemy, to face the enemy. So basically, we're calculating the rotation needed for the character to face the enemy as soon as you press and hold the right mouse button. We're going to get the character actor rotation, and then we're going to split the structure. Now we're going to make the rotator. make rotator, because we're going to split. And then here for the X and Y row, we don't use because we're only going to rotate the character to face the bot in the Z axis, right? If you don't know what the Z axis is basically this one right here. So if you rotate the character, here it says yaw, but if you rotate the character, you're rotating the character is on the Z axis. So this is the Z axis. I think this is the Y axis. And this is the X. I don't remember. I think it depends on the plane, but you get the idea. As we want to only modify the Z axis, we're going to keep the X and Y the same. And the next thing we're going to do is get the actual location. I think it's going to be better to get some comments here. So this is this one right here. And get character's location. Here you're going to get the node called find look at rotation. And we're going to get the location node right here. And this find look at rotation basically is going to do the job for us for calculating how much rotation do you need to rotate in order to face the bot. Now here you're going to get actual location. And here you're going to get the bot reference. So BP bot is going to be right there. So we're getting the reference of the bot location. And then we're going to split the structure and split the target. We do a little bit of offset here, so we're going to subtract it. 44 is going to be connected right here. And we're going to split the structure. We're going to split the structure and get the return value Z yaw. All right, and this rotation is going to be connected into here to make the character to face the bot. So after all that, we're going to just select everything, select all the nodes. We're going to right click in any of the nodes and click on collapse nodes. You can also collapse to function or collapse to macro, it's up to you, but yeah, it's totally up to you. But in this tutorial, we're going to just collapse the nodes. If this code is going to be reusable for other purposes in the code, across the code, if you're going to reuse the code, I probably suggest it's better for you to collapse your function, because you can use the same code to the other across the whole code, across the TPC or the BP bot. You just have to like swap the references. So when you press play, let me see if the character cannot face the bot yet. Let me see why. Oh yeah, I have to plug in the functions. So let me just delete these ones because I've created just to show you guys how you can create a function. Yeah, now play. Now as soon as you hold, as you can see, it's kind of working. If you guys want to get the same animations for the strafe, yeah, I think I have some values here. 200. The max walk speed is 200. So if you guys want to get the strafe, I'm gonna show. I think this time is better for me to show you how my blueprint is done. So here, all we basically have is just a strafe animation and a block animation, right? For the strafe locomotion, we have the strafe, where we have this blend space right here, where the character can walk to all directions. You don't need this in order to follow the tutorial. You can follow without, but it's a nice to have. And these are my settings for the strafe. So direction is negative 180, positive 180. And for the sample smoothing, I let it to be 5, smoothing is on, and that's about it. Very simple. And here for the block mode, as soon as you press Q, as you can see, my character can block. And that's because of this node right here, this animation, and also this node right here called layered blend per bone, which blends the spine, which blends the upper body. So that's going to be the spine 0, 1, and the blend depth is going to be 1 because I want it to be, I don't want to blend too much. I want to have like a nice transition between the upper body and the lower body. I want you to have like a smooth blend. And here you have the blend poses by Boo. I use the cached pose strafe. And here on the blend poses by Boo, I choose if I want to have the normal locomotion, the strafe locomotion, or if I want to have the strafe locomotion plus the block animation. So this is the normal strafe locomotion. And when I press Q, I have the normal locomotion, the normal strafe locomotion, plus the upper body animation applied on the upper body of the character. So remember that variable that we set right here, the block can be enabled. So here we're going to switch if strafing. So if we stop strafing, it's not working right now because we need to finish the code. So going back to the third-person character, on the event begin play, you have to cast to the BP TPC or whatever character blueprint you're using, and then try get Paul owner, and then get the TPC ref. So you get the reference of whatever blueprint you have in here inside of the character blueprint in the animation blueprint, which is this blueprint right here. This is the event graph, this is the animation graph, and you can get the references by getting the property access. And then let's say I want to have the easy strafing boolean, for example. So I can get the TPC, the same name of the blueprint, the same name of the reference, the same name of the variable that I have here. In my case, I've named my variable to be TPC ref. So you're going to search for TPC ref, and you're going to type the name of the variable that you want to get inside the TPC. So let's say I want to get the variable called block mode. So all you're going to do is get the TPC ref first, and then we're going to search for block mode. So now you have the variable, and you can plug this into here if you want to. No difference. It's going to work the same. You can also directly get into here, get like from here, if you right click on the active value and go to binding and type TPC ref, the same variable, and get the block mode. You can also get the variable like this, right? It works the same thing, as you can see right there. So it's pretty much up to you on which one to choose, the best way that works. Now for the main states, we have the normal locomotion and we have the default slot. I have disabled the control rig because it was glitching a little bit when I was attacking, but it's up to you to choose. Maybe you're using the game animation sample and you might not have this one right here. And we also have that blending for a smoother transition between animations. And that's it. So now going back to the third-person character, we're going to plug the aim end into here. I've just created. But first we're going to set up the aim start function first. So let's finish the setup right here. So the next thing we're going to do is enable the decal. So all you can do to enable the decal, first we have to have the decal. So I'm going to go to add on the components tab of the BP bot, and then search for decal, and then drag and drop to the mesh to attach the decal to the mesh of the character. So as you can see, it's a little bit big, so we're going to resize it so that it fits the plane, so that it has the same proportion of the character. I'm going to smooth this a little bit because it's too snappy, so you just got to click on here, enables or disables snapping to objects, and we're going to put it a little bit down like that. And here on the decal material, you're just going to select the decal you have. For now, I already have my decal in here, but I'm going to teach you how you can make one. All you have to do is get the decal image, the image that is going to serve as a decal. In my case, I have a circle with, it's basically just a simple circle that's going to serve for identification. Whenever you press the right mouse button, the circle appears below of the character of the enemy, showing that you have target the enemy. If you have another decal, we can do the same thing as I'm gonna do here. So all you gotta do is right click and create a material. So after you create the material, you're going to get the RGBA into the opacity. So we cannot do that right now. Actually, we could do it, but it's disabled because we have to get the blend mode option to be changed. So instead of opaque, we're going to change it to be translucent. And the material domain is going to be deferred decal. Now, I optionally you can choose to have a emissive color into it. So we're going to multiply and then plug that into the emissive color. So that has a nicer effect of that decal. I guess that's pretty much it. So now we can click on apply and there is your decal material. You can put it on the world to see how it looks like. As you can see right there, it works great. Oops, I deleted the ground. Now we're going to go back and click on the decal material. And then you're going to go to the BP bot. And then you're going to select that decal material there. So we're going to click on play. The location, maybe the location, the rotation is not right. Let's get this to be 0. Let's get this to be 90. Yeah, I think 90 works for the y-axis, I guess. So let's click on play. It's not working yet. Yeah, you just gotta keep trying to find the right value for this one. There we go. I just had to get it to be a little bit lower. So as you can see, the decal works. If you also want to resize it, I think it's better to let it to be like everything 1. So 1, 1, 1. For the decal size here, you can unlock this and click and write 7, 60, 60, 60 and press and play. There you go. Now by default, we're going to let it to be invisible. So we're going to turn off the option. Now for the then to execution pin, we're going to set visibility. Actually, I think it's easier for you to get the bot reference first and then get decal. Just be careful when you name it. You can name it to be something different, like decal target, for example. So the name is going to be different. Now we're going to set visibility and click here on new visibility. So as you can see, as soon as I right click, the decal appears on the bot. So now let's go and do the aim end function. So for this function, we're going to just disable some values for the movement of the character, and then we're going to disable the decal. So we're going to get a sequence. We're going to get the same reference as we get in here, and the same code that we got in here that we've already made. So we're going to just copy and paste to the aim end function. And then in here, we're going to disable new visibility. And here we're going to disable this, enable this. And here you're going to let it to be disabled. And I don't know what was your initial max walk speed, but I'm going to let mine to be 500. You're going to have to check it out on your own code, on your own project. But I'm going to let mine to be 500 as the default value for when the character is not strafing. So that's going to be the max walk speed when the character is not strafing. And in here, we're going to turn this variable to be true, so that, as you can see, the character can already face the bot in a way that it's very fun to play, because the character is always going to face the bot whenever direction you move with the character. So that's pretty cool. So now we're going to do the attack function. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to skip the reset do once event, because that's an event that we're going to do afterwards. So we're going to skip this one ahead and check if the character is strafing. So to check, we're going to get the is strafing variable and connecting to here. Now we're going to check if the character is currently being hit. And we're going to create a variable called isBeingHit. I already have mine here, which is called isBeingHit as well. And the default value is, of course, false. And isStrafing is false as well. And then in here, we're going to make the system in a way that we select a random punch animation montage to play. The first thing we're going to do here is, firstly, we're going to get the play montage node. So play montage, the first one right here, play montage. And here what we're going to do is promote this to a variable. So right click on the montage to play. Now you have the montage to play variable, right? So here we're going to name it to be random selected punch montage. I already have this variable right here, so all you gotta do is just do the same thing as I've done here. So now you have your random selected punch montage variable in here, reference variable. So you can just plug that into the montage play. And here you're going to get this in skeletal mesh component. We're going to get the skeletal mesh component of the character. And just organize this a little bit here. So all we're going to do here is just duplicate the random selected punch montage variable. And then Ctrl C and Ctrl V. As you can see, I got a new variable right here. So in the you can compile and save. So here on the variable type, as you can see, this one is a variable type, has a variable as a type, but we can choose it to be single, an array, or set, or map. As I want to store multiple different animation montages in the same array, I'm going to use array. As I want to add multiple animation montages in a single variable, I'm going to use the variable type of array. So I'm going to drag and drop the random selected punch montages. And here, what I'm going to do is just get a random array in item. And then remember the variable that we've created here. So we're going to get the random selected punch montages. Remember, it's the single one. And then here on the output is going to be in here. So that's basically going to select the animation for us. Or you can also do, what you can also do is plug it directly in here. So you don't need to, you only need to create the array with the animation montages into it. But I prefer to do it this way, so it's up to you. So here we're going to input all the montages by pressing this plus sign button here. You're going to select the montages that you have for punch animations. As I already have mine here, for the punch, the punch montages, I'm going to use my array. But if you have your punch montages, you can plug it into here. So we can also preview how this looks like. Here's going to be false. So we're going to firstly check if the character is strafing. So if the character is strafing, and if the character is not being hit at the moment, we're going to select a random punch montage and then play it here. So as you can see, it's working all right. Now for the montages, I'm going to duplicate mine here and delete this as a way to demonstrate how you can create a brand new montage, how you can set up the notifies in this case. So if you don't know how to create a montage, you can just right click on the animation sequence on those green ones, right click and create a animation montage. So that's going to create a purple animation montage, so that you can basically modify it, adjust like the timeline, adjust the play rate of the animation montage, adjust the length. You can do anything in here. The first thing I'm going to do is right click on the timeline, on the notify, and click on Notify State and click on Animation and Motion Warping. The reason why we're using motion warping here is because I want the character to face the bot as soon as you on a specific timeline of the animation itself. So as soon as he's doing this action right here, I want my character to face the bot at this moment right here, starting from this timeline. So you're just going to have to basically choose which, at what moment you want that to happen. For the first setting we're going to do for the motion warping is get the warp target name. So we can name it to be like rotate to player or rotate to enemy. It's up to you. Now for the warp translation, we're going to disable it because we don't want to warp the location of the character. Warp rotation is true. Rotation type is facing. We want the character to face the bot or the enemy. And that's basically it. All you gotta do. And then just be careful on selecting what's the timeline, what's the start and end position. They are very important. I usually do them before the swing motion of the punch. And then you're just gonna have to do it for all the punch animations, the kick animations, whatever attack animations you have. Now for the next thing we're going to set up the animation notify. So as you can see right here, I have a foot notify with the notify name as foot_r. So you can create this by going to the animation, by going to the notify state and by going to the montage notify window. And then here for the none, you can select the name of it. So you can select the hand R if the character is using his hand R. In this animation, he's using his foot. So you have to place the notify exactly at the moment of where he kicks in this case, right? In this case, he kicks with the right foot. You're gonna have to select which exact bone, which exact socket you're going to use in order for having a reference for the sphere trace, right? So you're going to type foot R, in this case it's foot R, the swing motion. You're going to select the time frame, and then you're going to go to the TPC reference. And here out of the notified name, you're going to promote it to a variable. This one is going to be called player socket, like this. Now we need a sphere trace, so we're going to right click, get a sphere trace for objects. And here for the object types, I'm going to make an array, and we're going to choose NPC as a object type. Now we're going to get the mesh and get the socket location, plug that into the start. Now the socket name is going to be the player socket. I'm going to add a little bit of a value here just for avoiding some bugs. And this is going to be connected into the end. And this is going to be for duration. So we can connect it directly into here just for testing purposes. So whenever you punch, let me see what's happening. Oh yeah, the radius. Let's put the radius should be 9 for example. So whenever you punch, oh yeah, sorry, that's going to be for the, that's going to be on the onNotify begin. So don't forget to change the execution pin output. So whenever you click on play, so as you can see that the trace is spawning on the right location. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to want the trace to spawn longer. So if he's attacking with the right hand, we want the trace to follow the right hand of the character. So for doing that, we're going to go to add a new timeline. And this timeline is going to serve us for the timeline update. So the length is going to be 5 seconds max for this timeline. And here out of the update, we're going to update the sphere trace for objects. And here we're going to select this node. So let's just organize this a little bit. Collapse your nodes and get it to be like this. I'm going to choose trace colors for it to be a bit more easier to understand what's happening. So as soon as I press on play, as you can see, it's updating, but the trace continues to execute. So what I'm gonna do is get the onNotify end to the stop. So as soon as the motion ends, which is on this exact endpoint right here of this animation. So when that ends, then we're going to stop the timeline, which is going to stop the trace. So as you can see, the sphere trace, it turns to be blue. That means that it hit the bot. So we're going to organize this a little bit. So out of the stop, we're going to create a custom event that's going to handle that. So we're going to get the player punch timeline stop and just going to copy the name and then paste it in here. So we're going to call that function. So basically we're saying, what time should I better stop the timeline so that we don't cause any glitches. So out of the notify end, we're going to connect it to here. We're going to connect also the interrupted, the blend out. This is just to make sure that we don't execute the timeline when it's not intended. Now for the next execution we have to handle what happens after we hit the bot. So in case we hit the object of the NPC collision type, we are going to get the out of hit, and we're going to break the hit result. And we're going to promote the hit actor to a variable. So whatever actor is being hit, we're going to save its reference so that we can use it later. We're going to maybe want to save which bone we did hit for the bot. We can also do that. Now here, we're going to check if the trace hit actor is the same from the bot actor reference. What that means is that whatever we hit, we're going to check if whatever we hit is the bot. So we're going to get the bot reference and the reference we just created here. So it's the hit actor, right? We can name this to be hit actor from trace. Well, yeah, I'll let have my variable here, so don't worry. But we can let it like this. Now what we're gonna do is just going to check if the hit actor is the bot. And now after we've detected that we've hit the bot, then we're going to stop the timeline. So first we're going to get the player punch timeline stop. We're going to call that function, which is going to stop the timeline. And then after we make the code for the BP bot, because we also need to set up that, we are going to call that event in here. So for now we can just skip it. And then after the trace update is finished, only execute the punch event once, because as soon as you punch the bot, we don't want to execute. We don't want to execute like sound effects multiple times or visual effects multiple times. So we're going to get the do once node. So do once node, and then we're going to create a special event for handling the reset of that do once. So we're going to add a custom event, and we're going to call it reset do once event. There we go. And then we're going to call that event in here. So reset do once event. We're going to call that event. So we're going to create a new function called punch function. In this punch function, we're going to execute a punch sound effect. We're going to execute a hit animation for the bot. So as soon as you punch the bot, we want to execute the hit animation for the bot. We're going to apply the damage for the bot, because we're going to be later displaying a health bar that is going to be above the player, above the bot. And then we're going to also update and display a new health value. And we're also going to update and display a new health value. And then here's the def event. This def event is executed as soon as the bot reaches a number below 0 or equal to 0. And that's it. So we're going to execute the punch sound effect first. So play sound 2D. So here you're going to execute a sound effect. I have this one, but you can choose yours. It's up to you. Now here we have a custom event that we're going to have to create inside of here. So we're going to create a custom event called play hit montage for bot. Here we're going to create a montage. We're going to play a montage. And here we're going to create and get the bot's mesh. So this montage is going to be specifically, this montage here is going to execute. This montage here is going, this play montage node here is going to execute animations for the bot, only for the bot. Now for the hit animations for the bot, as we want to execute different hit montages depending on which direction you punched the bot, we're going to create a function that's going to determine whether you hit the bot from the front or from the back. We're going to create a function called calculate back front distance. So you're just going to click on the sign here, plus sign, create function. You can double click on that. And this function is going to be pure. So make sure you have selected the pure option in here. So the first thing we're going to do here is get the bot reference. And we're going to check if it's valid. That's going to prevent us to have errors on the list when you play the game. Now the next thing we're going to do is get the bot location. So get actor location, get actor forward vector. And get actor location again, just get a little bit more simple, more organized. And here you're going to add, we're going to get a multiplier. We're going to convert this to a float. And then we're going to plug in here. We're going to duplicate this one. Here you're going to get the actor's location, the character's location of the player, the player's location, and then we're going to get the distance node vector. We're going to connect this one to here, and then we're going to get another one, get this to the V2, and the V1 is going to be here. And here we're going to check if it's greater this, and we're going to get out of the Boolean variable return value, we're going to get a branch and connect the isValid to here. Now in here, we're going to create a new array. You can just duplicate the punch montages if you have it set up. You can just Ctrl+C and Ctrl+V in here. So it's going to show up a punch montages variable name right here. And the next thing we're going to do is name it to be player. It's going to be player hit montages back. So we're going to create two animational montages. Sorry, two arrays with the name of player hit montages, one for the back and one for the front. Right? I'm not gonna do that right now because I already have mine here. So this array here, I use it for executing these animations right here, right? Animations like this. This one is for the back and this one is for the front. As you can see right there. So what we can do here, again, we're going to get the return node and we're going to duplicate this. So here we're going to plug in the array called player hit montages front. We're going to get a random array in item. So it's going to select the random animation for us. And here you're going to plug that into here. And now we're going to get our player hit montages back for this time. So player hit montages back array. We're going to get it. We're going to get a array a random animation from that list. Random array in item. And there you go. If you want, you can rename it. You can rename this output name here. We're going to name it hit montages to play, for example. So all you gotta do is just get that function, calculate back front distance, and then plug into here, montage to play. Now, of course, you can set up other parameters like play rate and starting position. But let's see if it works now. So if you punch the bot, you can see it's not working right now. Let me see why. Yeah, of course, I think I gotta call the function. So we're going to call the punch function here. So we're going to get the same name as play hit montage for the bot, and right click, paste the name of the function of the event, and then connect it to here. So we're going to play and see what happens. For the first time, it seems like it didn't work, but here's the problem. I didn't set up the numbers for this one right here. So this one is going to be 100. It's like how far is it considered to be the front distance of the bot. And this one is going to be a negative 100. So as soon as you punch the bot, if you want, you can debug to see where exactly that is. So we're going to draw debug. We're going to do a simple math here. We're going to do a draw debug point at location. And here we can see where exactly that is. So the green point is going to indicate where exactly the front reference is going to be like in the bot, and the red one is for the back. So we're going to play and see how it is like. As you can see, the red one is hitting from the back, but it's not playing the back montages, as you can notice. Let me see if this is the case to change the animations. Oh yeah, I have a I have a different animation here that wasn't supposed to be in here, so I'm just going to delete it. Delete. And then we're going to press play again and see how it is like. So as you can see, the green point indicates that we are hitting the bot from the front. If you want, you can edit these values to see which one like makes the more sense to you. I'm going to leave that to be 80 for this case. So negative 80 for this one. And that's about it. That's everything we got to do in here. So what the motion warp does is, as soon as you punch, it redirects the rotation of the character to face the bot. But I think we can let this be later, because right now it doesn't make really much sense, because like the bot is just standing still. But later we're going to set up this one right here to see what difference it makes. Now we're going to set up the bot to be normally walking and follow the player. So first things first, we're going to go to the event begin play. We're going to set the player's blueprint reference. So we're going to cast to BP TPC. That's the name of the blueprint I have for the character right here. Here I'm going to get player character. And now I'm going to get to promote the variable. Can name it to be like TPC for a Barrett reference. I'm not going to create one because I already have mine on here, so it works the same thing. Now here I'm going to set is strafing as true, so that the bot can strafe at the beginning as soon as the game starts. And here you're going to cast your health bar. We're not going to do this step right now. We just want to make the character to the bot to be able to run or walk normally and follow the player and punch the player for now. So we're going to check if the widget is visible. We're going to do all those calculations here. We're going to get the event tick. And here we're going to firstly check if the bot is alive. So we're going to create a new variable inside the TPC character. So here you're going to here you're going to type is bot alive, and the type of variable is going to be Boolean. I already have my variable here, is bot alive. So I'm just going to need to type it get is bot alive. You can also choose to create in here, but it's up to you. You can also choose to create that inside of here. So we're going to get is bot alive. Now we're going to get a sequence. And on then one, we're going to check if the bot is playing any montage. So we're going to get the bot's mesh. We're going to get anim instance. And we're going to check if the bot is playing any montage. Because if the bot is already punching, then we're not going to be able to punch again because he's already punching, right? So he can punch only once at a time. And now we're going to get another branch to check if the bot distance is less than 160, just to check if the bot is far away from the player or close to the player. So for that, we're going to get the distance from bot. So to get the distance from bot, we're going to get actor location. And we're going to get the TPC reference. We're going to duplicate this one. And we're going to get the distance vector. Out of this, we're going to get this is less or equal than 160. And then plug that into the condition. I'm going to select everything and collapse to a node because it's easier for me to understand what's going on here. And I think it's better also for you to do this input and name this should be distance. So you can input the distance in here directly into input. Check distance. Now we're going to create a new function called move bot towards player. So we're going to create a new function here inside the bot blueprint. So here we're going to add the movement input. For the scale value, we're going to type .35. This is the speed. Like you can input a value between 0 and 1. So 0.35 is like in the middle term. So you can input a value like between 0 and 1. 0, that means that the character shouldn't be able to move. And 1 is that the full speed. So the full speed is going to depend on the max walk speed of the bot. And the max walk speed of the bot you can set up in here by going to the max walk speed settings. And you can choose in here. Now here we're going to find the direction for the bot to go towards the player, which you can get by getting the actor location. Getting the TPC reference, getting the actual location again, but this time for the TPC reference, for the TPC, for the character, for the player. Now we're going to get the unit direction vector. We're going to calculate using this function here, the output for this function. Of course, later we're going to be able to stop the punch timeline. We haven't made the punch timeline for the bot yet, so that's why there is a comment here saying stop punch timeline. Now all you're going to do is just drag and drop the move bot towards player function we've just created here. And we're going to simply connect the false to here. And then we're going to get the branch. We're going to get another branch. And we're going to create a function called look at rotation function. And in here we're going to get actor transform. To get the actor location. This is just basically for like finding the right the right rotation for the bot to face the player, because as soon as the bot starts to walk, he needs to find a direction in order for the bot to be rotated to face the character. So we're going to find relative look at rotation. We're going to split this. We're going to do ABS. And we're going to promote this and call this look at rotation difference. I already have this variable right here, so I'm just going to delete it and set this one to be here. And then we're going to get the return node and plug that into here. I'm going to plug this into here. Don't forget about this. And all you gotta do is just drag and drop the look at rotation function And out of the output get, we're going to calculate if it's less or equal than 70. And plug that to the condition. So we're going to see and we're going to test it out and see how it works. So when I press on play, as you can see, the bot moves into my direction. And if I start moving around, he's always going to follow me. You can choose how far, you can choose how close you want the bot to move towards you by going to here. So here is 160. If you want, if you put like 200 or 300, let's see, 600. Yeah, I think we should have this to be promoted as variable in here. So let's get a variable called distance. We're going to have to promote this to a variable. So we're going to call it distance from bot. I already have mine one here. So we're going to delete this. I'm going to delete that and get my distance from bot variable. So in this case, in your case, we're going to create one, but in my case, I'm just going to get it from here and we have to update it from here. So we're going to have to calculate the distance regardless. Now, if the bot is alive, if the bot is still alive, then we're going to calculate the distance. If it's not, then none of those executions here are going to be executed out of the event tick. Now we're going to grab our distance from bot variable that we've just created and get this to be plugged into here. So I'm going to get this node and I'm going to plug this into here and get the a number like 160. Let's see if that solves the issue. Yeah, now my bot is not moving at all. Let's plug this into here and let's get the 160. Yeah, I guess that was just an issue with something's weird. I don't know what. Something is weird. Yeah, I think it's going to look a lot better when the bot can be able to attack the player, right? Because at this position here, the bot is not moving because this one is true, and if this one is true, then we're going to make the bot to attack the player, which is in this case. Now the next thing we're going to do here is, as we don't have the timeline for the bot yet, we're going to skip this one and get the do once node. And here we're going to get a custom event, which is going to trigger the reset for the do once event, the do once node. And we're going to call this reset do once event, or just reset to once. We're going to delete that event right there. And here we need to set up the motion warping for the bot. So we're going to create a new function. Essentially, what you gotta have is the motion warping node. So for having the motion warping node on the bot, so we're going to go to the blueprint of the character. On the components tab, we're going to add motion warping. And then when you come back to the BP bot, as you can see, the motion warping is in here. So we're going to drag and drop it. And out of this, we're going to add or update warp target. So what this is going to do is that as soon as the bot punches, if the bot is right here, so if we don't have the motion warping, the bot is not going to be able to face the player. So what that means is that as soon as the bot tries to attack the player, the bot is not going to be smart to like rotate into the direction of the player and attack him, which means without motion warping, the bot is going to face and like punch whatever is in here, and with motion warping, the bot is going to rotate and punch and try to punch the character in here because the character is now in here, right? That's kind of like how it works. So for the motion warping setup, we're going to compile this. And here, out of the warp target, we have a structure. So we're going to make the structure that it's easier for you to see what are the parameters. Now, the motion warping name, we're going to type rotate to player. It's the exact same name as we have in our player's blueprint. If you go to the bunch montages and select one of the punch montages, as you can see, I have the motion warping set up. And if you click on it, these are my settings for the motion warping. So you have the warp target name as rotate to player. Here, don't set up anything. The warp rotation is checked on, and the rotation type is facing. That's all you gotta do in here. And also you have to select the time frame which the bot is going to rotate to the player, or vice versa, or the player is going to rotate to the bot as soon as that animation starts. So if you select a timeline right here, time frame, the bot is going to snap to face the player is going to snap to face the bot, or vice versa, right? So you just got to choose like the best time frame in order for having a more smooth, realistic rotation. In here, for the BP bot, we're going to get the TPC reference, and we're going to get the actor transform. We're going to get the actor transform. Now here, you're going to split, and here you're going to connect the location and rotation. Now you ask for a component. I think it's optional, but I think it's good to provide that as well. We're going to get the TPC, we're going to get the capsule, or you can also get the mesh. I don't know if you can plug in the mesh into here. I think you can as well, but I prefer the capsule because it's more, because I think it's better to get the reference of the capsule. Now I'm going to show you how it looks without motion warping and with motion warping. So we're going to skip motion warping for now, and we're just going to be playing a montage for the bot. So we're going to get the play montage, and we're going to get the mesh of the bot. Now we're going to get the punch montages that we have in the same for the TPC for the players, right? So we're going to be using the same punch montages that we have set up in our player's blueprint. So to do that, we're going to get the TPC reference, and we're going to get the punch montages array that we've just created before. And we're going to get the random array in item, which means that we're going to select a random punch animation from the list, and we're just going to plug that into the montage. That's simply it. Now we're just going to compile. If you want to set the play rate to be 1.2, I think that's great. The starting position to be 0.5. Now we're going to just blah, blah, blah. Now we're just going to press on play and see what happens. See, yeah, the bot's not. Yeah, I think it punched once, but it's not punching when I forgot to place the TPC reference in there on the target. So as soon as you press on play, so the bot is going to try to punch me, but it only happens once because I have this do once in here to set it up yet. So the bot is going to try to punch me, as you can see right there. And the next thing we're going to do is, as soon as the animation stops or ends, we're going to reset the do once. So I'm going to get out of the completed, I'm going to get a sequence. And here I am going to get a reset do once. Now we have two, reset do once and reset do once event. Now you just pay attention to the target. So for the reset to once event, we have the target as the BP TPC. And for the reset to once, we have the target as BP bot. That's the one we want, the BP bot. So just be careful with that. It also shows you which target is after you click on it. So if you double click on it, it's going to give you where that event is, give you the location where that event is. So it's going to automatically select for you. So if you double click on it, it shows you where it is, where the event is, and it shows you basically which event you're calling. So as soon as the animation is completed or is interrupted, because that might happen as well, the animation of the bot can be interrupted. So you need to be very careful with handling interrupted montages. And here in the on notify end, I also want to reset the do once. Now, this might not be the best way to do it. I think you guys have, I think you guys can like find a better way to do this, but that's the way I found and it works. So we're going to test it out and see if it works. So we're going to press on play. So the bot is going to continuously to try to punch us once at a time. So as you can see, he's missing. He's kind of, look at that. He's missing the punches, right? That's because we don't have the motion warping set up. Now, after the motion warping, it looks like the bot is going to rotate to face the player. He's always going to rotate to face the player as soon as he lands a attack. So as you can see that rotation there. So it makes a big difference on getting the bot to be a little bit more smarter on his punch, on his attacks. As you can see right there, you just rotated. As you can see right there. It just rotated to my character. And that's pretty fun. That's very useful for making the bot to be a little bit more smarter. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to set up the sphere traces, because right now the bot punches us, but there is no reaction from the player. The player does not play any animation montage, right? So we got to do that right now. So the way we're going to do this is going to be by sphere traces. So we're going to plant and attach a sphere trace, which is going to be on whatever hand or whatever side of the hand or leg the characters that the bot is punching player, as we done for the player. So if you try to punch the bot, there's going to be a sphere trace, which is going to be updated by a timeline. And I think this is the best setup you can have for attacks, because it uses timelines and like it's pretty much completed. It's pretty much controlled. So we're going to do the same for the bot. So for doing that, we're going to get a timeline. So we're going to add a new timeline. This timeline is going to be named bot punch timeline. For the stop, we're going to name it to be custom. Sorry, for the custom event for stopping that punch timeline, because somehow we're going to have to stop that punch timeline, because if we don't stop the timeline, then the sphere trace is going to be continuously executing, which is not what we want. We want to stop the timeline as soon as the punch is finished, right? So from this starting point to this end point right here, we want to end the timeline update after this point right here, right? So to do that, we're going to create a custom event. We're going to name this custom event to be called bot punch timeline. So we're going to, out of the notified name, we're going to promote it to a variable, because that's the name of the socket we're going to use for the sphere trace location as a reference. And this notified name is going to be called bot trace location bond based. I already have my variable created in here, so I'm just going to delete this and use my variable instead. Now, out of the notify begin play, which is the time where the sphere trace should start. So we should initiate the timeline in order for us to execute the sphere trace, which is going to be updated at a runtime, right, until the end point of this time frame right here. I hope that's understandable. Now we're going to get out of this output here. We're going to play from start, and here we're going to get a sphere trace for objects. Now we're going to get our bot trace location bond based and get it. And here we're going to do some calculations. So the first thing we're going to get is get the mesh and get socket location. So here it asks for the socket name. We're going to get the bot trace location bond based variable. And here I think you can collapse this to a node. And out of the return value, this is going to be the start position trace, the start position of the trace location. And for the end, I like to do this. I like to add a little bit of a number in here so that we don't have any bugs for the trace. So here we're going to plug in the start and end positions. For the object type, we're going to make an array and select, as we want to hit the player, we're going to choose the player, and also make sure that the collision of the player's mesh is set to player. So if you go to the mesh and object type, it has to be player. If you don't have that, you're gonna have to create it right here on the project settings and go to collision, as I've showed you on the beginning of the tutorial. Now for the radius, it's going to be 7. And for the duration type, for the draw debug type, is going to be for duration. You can choose a trace color if you want to. I'm going to choose yellow. So let's test it out. And if you hit play, the bot is going to try to attack me. And as you can see, it hit my head, but as you can see, there is no, we haven't set up the trace to be stopped. So we're going to set up that right now. Now here we're going to get the branch. And here we're going to get the out hit function. We're going to break the hit result. And we're going to check if what we hit is the bot. So we're going to get if it's equal to the TPC reference. And here you're going to get the branch. And here you're going to stop the bot punch timeline stop. So we're just going to call the event. And we're going to call that same event in here. So we're just going to copy that event to stop the timeline in here. What that means is that if the montage is completed, we want to also stop the punch timeline. If the montage is interrupted, we want to stop the timeline. Or if the notify end is triggered as well. We also make sure to stop the timeline in here. So just in case, so bot punch timeline stop, we're going to call that in here as well, just to make sure that we don't have any bugs in the code. So let's see if it works. Yeah, it works. Now here we're going to play a simple sound effect whenever the bot punches us. So we're going to get a play sound 2D. Now here we're going to select our punch sound effect. So we're going to be playing a hit montage for the player whenever the bot attacks us. So we're going to get the play montage node. Here we're going to get the TPC reference and get its mesh. And here we're going to just drag and drop to calculate back front distance. Here we've done the calculation for the back and front distance for the third person character. Now we're going to do for the bot. So we're going to double click and copy everything here. Instead of the bot, we're going to get the TPC reference to be changed in here. And compile. TPC, let's see. Compile, save, there we go. Now we're going to get our calculate back front distance. Oops, not in here. Let me see why it's not working. Player. Let me delete and get it again. Yeah, there we go. Now we're going to get our hit montages to play here, and let's see if it works. Yep. So now we're going to fix the block function, because the block does not really work. Even if you try to block the attacks from the bot, it does not work. So for fixing that, we're going to, out of the montage player, we're going to select. And here we're going to select the boolean. And here we're going to put in here on false. And we're going to get the property block mode of the TPC reference. We're going to connect that in here. And if the player is currently blocking, they're going to select the block montage. This is the block montage I have. There's nothing, it's just a montage. It's very simple, straightforward. So this is the montage that is going to be played as soon as the player gets attacked. So we're going to play. So as you can see, it works. If I don't block his attacks, this is what happens. So that's pretty much simple and straightforward. And the thing that I like to do in here to prevent this from happening, from being able to like move the player while the player is being attacked, is get the TPC reference and set block player movement input. So we're going to create a variable called block player movement input inside the third person character, which is this one right here, block player movement input. And in the event graph, we are going to get a branch and get that boolean to be connected to the branch. And we're going to stop the input action of movement for the player. So if you want to block the player, if this variable is true, then you're not going to be able to move the player anymore because he's currently being attacked. So we're going to go back to the PP bot. And as soon as the player gets attacked, we're going to block the player movement input. And we're also going to get the TPC reference and get the is being hit variable. And so that should be true as well. Now the is being hit, I don't think I use it, is being hit variable. Yeah, we use it as well. So whenever, like if we are currently being hit, we're not going to be able to attack anymore. That's why we use it for. For the reset the being hit state, we can get the interrupted or the blend out execution pins in here, and I'm going to disable those because we need to disable them. Otherwise, the movement of the player is going to be blocked and you're not going to be able to move again. I think my punch sound effect is not working for some reason. Let me check it out. The punch function is not set up yet, so we're going to set up the punch function for the player. And I think the punch function is not even called. So we're going to delete this, as this is not right. And we're going to call the punch function for the BP TPC. So as soon as you compile, save, and play, yes. Yeah. So here we're going to play a hit animation for the bot. Now here we're going to call the function called play hit montage for bot. So whenever I hit the bot, hit the bot. There we go. The hit montage is played for the bot. Now here we're going to apply the damage. Now I have created a health float variable in here called health. It's a float variable, and the health default value is 100. So you're just going to create one, and we're going to get the bot's health, because as soon as you create the health for the player, the health for the bot is also going to be created. So you can get the health variable right here because it's parented. So we're going to get the bot reference, and we're going to get its property health. We're going to subtract it. And here we're going to select a random float in range. So we're going to get a random damage value for the bot. Out of the bot reference, we're going to set health. We're going to create the widget later, but now we're just focusing on the back end of the code. So whenever I punch the bot, it's going to give the bot a damage percentage, like 5 or 15 of damage, right? So it's going to randomly select a damage number. The reason that is because it makes the game a little bit more unpredictable. So here we're going to select and make the death event. So here it's going to basically check if the health is equal or less than 0. Here we're going to set can aim variable to be off. I don't know why we have 2 values in here. Can aim and can aim. Let's see. This one is in use. This one is not. So we're going to turn that to be off. We're going to get the bot reference again. So we're going to stop aiming. We're going to simulate the character's physics. And then after, we're going to set the character's movement mode. So we're going to get the bot's mesh. We're going to get the collision enabled to collision enabled. Here we're going to set capsule component. The collision set collision enabled. And this is going to be no collision. Here we're going to destroy the health widget. And here we're going to make sure to stop the event tick execution, because when the bot is dead, we're not going to want to be able to execute all these functions here because the bot is dead, so it doesn't make sense. Now we're going to get the bot reference and set the is bot alive variable to false. And we're also going to stop the bot punch timeline, just in case. And also, if you have any other timeline that is related to the bot's functionalities, then we're going to stop in here as well to avoid bugs. So if I punch the bot many times, the bot is going to die and it's going to simulate the physics. And that's pretty much it. Now we're going to be making the widget, the health widget. So we're going to right click, create a blueprint class, and we're just going to select the, actually this is not here. So you're going to right click and you're going to type widget. So we're going to select the widget blueprint and user widget. So we're going to name it to be health bar like 2. Bot health bar. Here we're going to get a canvas panel, and then later we're going to get a progress bar. So for the progress bar, I'm going to name it to be health bar in the details panel. I'm going to enable it to be a variable. For the size Y, I'm going to type 10. The anchor is going to be in the middle, and the position X is going to be 0, and 0 for the X and 0 for the Y. So it's going to put in the middle. The alignment is going to be .5 and .5. The fill color and opacity, I'm going to let it to be red. I'm going to set a percentage of .5 just to see how it looks like. The background color, I like it to be a little bit, I like it to be black. And that's pretty much it. Now let's test it out. Now for placing the health bar on the bot, we're going to add and go to widget. And we're going to drag and drop the widget to be attached to the mesh of the bot. Here for the widget class, I'm going to type bot health bar. For the location, I'm going to type 210. I'm going to rename this widget to be health widget, just to get the reference in the blueprint code. Now, if you press on play here, as you can see, the health bar is not. If you look from the back, you cannot like literally see the health bar on the bot. So we're going to fix that right now. We're going to make the health bar to face the camera location, the camera direction. So for doing that, we're going to create a new variable called health widget visibility. It's going to be Boolean, and the default value is going to be true. So we're going to get range. Here we're going to select from then 0. And then here we're going to set world rotation of the health widget. I'm going to collapse this to a node. Now here from the health widget, I'm going to get world location. And then find look at rotation. I'm going to get the player camera manager and transform component. And here you're going to just put that in there. And that's basically a calculation for calculating, basically saying we're going to set the health widget rotation to face whenever the camera is facing. So let's see if that works. So as you can see, it works. Now here we're going to cast to the health bar. So cast to health bar. In my case, it's bot health bar because I made 2. Here we're going to get the health widget, and then we're going to get widget. And then we're going to connect it to object. Sorry, we're going to get the health bar. We're going to get the health bar first, and then we're going to promote it to a variable. And then we're going to call it health bar widget. Now here we're going to get the health variable, get health float variable. So here we're going to get out of this and get set %. And then we're just going to plug that into here. But first we're going to have to subtract or divide. We're going to have to divide it by how much? 100%. If you want to start with a percentage of 1, you can start. So as soon as you press play, the percentage is like pretty much completed. If you type 0.5, it's half. If you type 0, it's empty. The health bar is going to be empty. So the ideal percentage is going to be 1. Now here we're going to get the BP bot, and we're going to stop the bot punch timeline to avoid bugs. Now we're going to go back to the punch function and set up the health widget. So here you're going to get the BP bot. We're going to get its health bar widget. And we're going to set %. And we're going to get the BP bot health. We're going to get the bot health and divide it by 100. And plug that into percentage. And then we're going to collapse this to a node to make it easier. So each time you punch the bot, the health bar should be updated as well. So as you can see right there. If you want to define a higher damage, you can change those values. So in here, after the bot is dead, you're going to destroy the health widget. Or if you want, you can just like set visibility to be off if you want to. Now, if you want, you can also set up the motion warping for the player. So as soon as you attack with the player, basically rotate the player as soon as a as soon as the attack starts in order to have more precise attacks. So to do that, I already have a function called motion warping for the player, which basically is almost the same thing as for the motion warping for the bot. So all I'm going to do is just copy all this code here and place it here. So all I'm going to do is just delete this capsule component as well. And I'm going to get my own capsule component for the player, of the player. And that's basically it. That's all you got to change. And then you're going to drag and drop the motion warping for the player and connect it to here. Oh yeah, it's I think I've done the references wrong. So instead of the TPC, it's the bot that I have to change in here. So get the bot reference and get the bot's capsule component. So all you gotta do is just compile and put the motion warping function into here. Press play. And there you go. Now you have the motion warping working, which means is that you have more precise attacks whenever you attack the bot. So whenever the player punches the bot or attacks at any manner, the player is going to rotate to the bot at a specific time frame you set up inside the animation, the punch animation. So you can specify the time frame in which the player or the bot is going to be facing each other in here. And that's about it. So that's going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, you can comment down below and let me see what you think.